everybody. Hope you're having a great day. I'm excited to come back on and get to talk to you a little bit more about fat loss. If you remembered last week, I came on and told you guys that I just want to start sharing some things that I've learned. My nutritional background is in fat loss, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the tools that I found that have helped me to kind of find more of a balance in the way that I eat, and not being super restrictive, but just learning how to eat for a balanced lifestyle. So I just thought that I would come on and share a little bit more information for you. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do this once a week for a while and just get you guys up to speed. So if you're new to the page, I'm happy you're here. Please let me know that you're here. I can't always see it, so I'd love to know that you're hanging out for a few minutes. My name is Natalie Tuman, here with My Think Fit. I'm an online health and fitness advocate. I just want to help other people reach their health and fitness goals in one way or another, whatever that might be. And this page is one way that I get to do that by connecting with you guys. So again, as you hop on, if you would let me know that you're here so that I know I'm not talking to myself, because it's not always fun to just talk to myself. But I wanted to touch on this point today. Last week we kind of talked about weight loss versus fat loss. If you haven't seen that, you can scroll back. It was last Wednesday is when I did a video about that, kind of explaining the process on that. But now I want to talk to you one step further with fat loss, and that is the fact that our hormones actually play a really huge role in if you're burning fat or if you're just losing weight. Hey, yay, okay, good, glad I'm on. So our hormones are a huge way, and there's different ways that you can determine if your hormones are in check and if you are in fat burning mode. And it doesn't take, all of these tests and everything to actually do that. You can do it just by gauging kind of your hunger, if you're being satiated from meal to meal, if you have cravings, how your mood is. Are you having really big mood swings? Hey, Christy. Do you have energy? What's your motivation like? Your overall health? Happy Friday to you too. I love me some Fridays. It's just kind of taking that the big picture into it and seeing how that plays into it. And if all of those are in check, then you can kind of know that you're probably doing pretty good. Your hormones are, where they need to be. But if one of those is off, let's say that you are having, you're not hungry, you're not having cravings, but man, you are just crashing, like you're just tired, you're exhausted. A lot of that has to do with our hormones, right? And that's not the only one, but just to kind of prove to you that it's hormonal, I want you to think for a minute, like how many calories are in stress? How many calories are in sleep? I know it's a tricky question, right? None. Pretty sure we all know that, right? But there's no calories associated with stress or with sleep. However, we all know that those play a role in weight gain and weight loss, right? It all plays a role. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you are stressed all the time, like it's going to play a role on your body and wreak havoc on your body. And that's just to kind of show you that like our hormones do play a pretty big role in how we're burning fat or if we are burning fat. And there's so many different hormones in our body, and and again, you guys, I am not an expert. I'm just sharing with you guys what I have learned and what I have found to work for me. So that's my disclaimer right there. I'm not an expert. This is just what works really well for me and my lifestyle and just the education that I've taken from it, okay? So we have so many hormones in our body. I just want to touch on a few. So insulin is one that I'm going to touch on. Glucagon, I'm just going to throw that name out there. Cortisol, and then our adrenaline and non-adrenaline, okay? So just to kind of give you a rundown of that. So insulin is actually the only hormone that we have that can actually lower our blood sugars. It's the only one, okay? There's quite a few that can raise blood sugar levels in our body, but insulin is the only one that can actually lower it. And by controlling those spikes in the insulin, that's actually from meal to meal, that's one of the best ways that you can control fat burn as well. So just kind of on that. So the second one is glucagon, and it's kind of the alter ego of insulin. Anytime insulin is secreted, you have, let me go back. Starches and sugars are what stimulate the release of insulin, okay? And you can that makes sense, right? Like when you have that sugar rush, that's your insulin, or that's your blood sugar elevating, right? Okay, so glucagon also raises blood sugar, and protein will stimulate the release of that, okay? Cortisol raises blood sugars as well. It's your stress hormone. So we all know about cortisol, right? When, a lot of times that's what, you can keep that on the belly. Sometimes that's related to cortisol. When I was going through all of my health issues, I was having cortisol tested all the time, thinking that maybe, I was hanging on to cortisol. It can be, and like there's a tumor on my pituitary gland. I didn't know what the heck was going on, but cortisol is your stress, and it can make insulin, insulin resistant to where your body's blood sugar levels just constantly stay high without medication. So that's cortisol. And then the last one is adrenaline and non-adrenaline, and it can raise your blood sugars as well, right? You know that surge of adrenaline that you get, and that's gonna raise your blood sugar. So these levels are constantly changing in our bodies, right? And the best thing that you want kind of this seesaw effect, right? You want this seesaw effect between insulin and cortisol release, right? And between your high blood sugars and low blood sugars in your body. You just want this kind of fluid seesaw motion, because when blood sugar is high, our body will release insulin to lower it. When blood sugars are low, our body releases cortisol, adrenaline, non-adrenaline to kind of raise it. Like post-surgery levels. Yes, exactly. So we want that seesaw effect. When it gets bad is when we have this roller coaster effect, and it spikes and then it drops, and then it spikes and then when it drops. So just a couple of tips on that. Fiber can put a cap on how high our blood sugars go, while protein can put a cap on how low it dips. So the more fiber you have in your diet, the less upswing in the blood sugars, and the more protein you have, the lower of a dip. I mean, again, you want it to be in this seesaw effect, you just don't want like crazy, right? So it can take a dip. So, start paying attention to how much fiber you have in your diet. A woman typically, I believe it's somewhere around like 25 grams of fiber a day is what you want. But again, you got to be careful, because if it's all starches, right? So a lot of people will think that they can go and have like all of these whole grain breads and all this whole wheat pasta and everything, like, oh, but it's high in fiber. It's like, it is, and we need fiber. However, if you're focused on burning fat, you need to find fiber elsewhere instead of starches, because the starch is what, again, is going to spike our insulin levels, okay? And so you want to make sure that we're keeping that in check. And in order to burn fat, you want to be lowering the starch, and you want to time your starches. And we're going to get into that as I continue on week by week, okay? So just in summary, I just want you guys to start realizing the fact that our hormones do play a really, really big role in fat loss. But we can have control over it to an extent, not 100%, trust me, because I've tried and I still had hormonal issues, but to an extent, we can control some of that roller coaster and seesaw effect based on what we're eating. So the more fiber, the less spike in blood sugar you're gonna have. The more protein, the less of a dip you are going to have. So that's kind of our goal, is to just stay on that fluid seesaw, okay? I hope that helps. It's just a little tip for the day. Again, I'll come on next week and we'll keep going with this series, and hopefully you can kind of gain some insight to it. And my goal here, I want you guys to learn how to eat for balance. Again, I've shared this before, you don't have to be dieting all the time. You don't have to be, going on these extreme measures. You don't have to be, you don't have to do all of that. There is a way that you can figure it out, and it does take work. You have to be responsible for your own nutrition. You can't expect someone to solve the entire puzzle for you, but you can learn and you can educate yourself and you can figure it out. And it's actually pretty simple once you get the concepts. Once I started on this way of eating, it just became a lifestyle, and I don't have to worry about, these huge swings in weight gain. I mean, of course the scale is going to fluctuate, whatever, and if I, eat too much of one thing, I'm going to hold on, and I'm going to be pudgy, if I don't, then I'm going to be, so it's just, that's a fact of life. But again, learning how to find that balance and just living for eating for a lifestyle, that's the key. And so I eat for a fat loss lifestyle. That's my goal. I want to have less body fat on me, right? Have major issues with high cortisol and struggle to release the weight. And cortisol is, I know, it's so painful. Like I said, and this is not the only thing, you guys. There's so much more to the equation. I'll talk about, several other hormones next week. When I was dealing with that, when I thought that it was high cortisol, what actually I ended up having, I had low progesterone, I had zero testosterone, like it was undetectable in my system. And then I also found out I have the MTHFR gene mutation. So this is not, 100% like just these things. If you just do this, you're going to lose fat. Like I promise I'm not saying that. I just want to give you tips to kind of start on that journey. But definitely, you know, be a detective for your own body and be an advocate for your body. Like if you're going through things, like you've got to be an advocate for your own health and wellness, and you've got to get those things in check so that you feel good. Like that at the end of the day is the biggest thing. So I have a community here on Facebook, and it's called Finding the Balanced Life. And it's just about, you know, again, this is about balanced eating, finding that balance in, you know, a fat loss lifestyle, how to eat for fat loss, you know, just in a balanced way without being so stinking drastic. And so I have a community here on Facebook, and I'd love for you to join over there. I'm going to be sharing more resources and tips and tools in that group as well. So feel free to join me over there. You can comment below and I'll shoot you the link to that group so that you can have it. But it's a pretty cool community to have over there too, so that we can kind of all, I mean, we're all in this together. You know, we all have our struggles. None of us are perfect. We're all, every single one of us are imperfect. So it's finding that balance. So you guys have an amazing Friday. And I look forward to, like I said, I'll come back on next week and we'll talk a little bit more. But until then, have a great weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend. Talk to you guys soon.